from Oracle Park. You just heard the press conference with Buster Posey. And guess what, Pop?
I got one more question, John.
We have
Greg
Buster
Papa,
Posey.
KNBR Radio, flagship of the Giants.
No
He
more
got Buster right
questions.
here.
He is the president of baseball ops. He looks good.
You look skinny.
He looks really good.
Yeah. So I told you guys, I got so many kids that I don't have time to feed myself. So I'm low on the totem pole.
So 3 years ago, you stepped away from the game as a player. How many LBSs have you lost since
Probably
then?
20 to 25 pounds lighter. I mean, look, when I played, I had to work hard to keep the weight on. So now I don't have to, force myself to eat and try to keep the joints feeling as good as possible.
So you're going to have to gain 25 pounds to be the first ever player GM?
Oh, gosh.
Is that what it's going to be?
No. I think
Come on, you could still hit 260
You look like
and
a
bang
center
out
fielder
18,
now.
couldn't you?
My stomach just turned a little bit thinking about that.
So just, I know you answered a lot of these questions, but just take us back to the start. You moved here. I know Murph asked you. You said right away that wasn't why you were here to do this, but all of a sudden it flipped. So at one point did you think to yourself, this might be something I want to do?
I mean, I think long term, I felt like it was something that I would want to do eventually, and I don't think you ever know when these opportunities are going to come up. And unfortunately, I mean, I would have loved for the team to be getting ready to play in a playoff game right now, and unfortunately, we're not there. And I'm excited to be a part of the team that supports the team to get back where all of us Giants fans want them to be.
When we watched you play, when you first came up in 09 and 10 and all the successes you had, we knew you were just different mentally. Physically, obviously, but the way you would set up late and watch the hitter's feet and then move late, you just had a mind for the game. We knew you'd go into something, owning, which you're involved in still. Did you ever think about being a manager over being a general manager, Buster?
Well, I'll say different. My wife does think I'm different mentally as well.
Yeah, she does.
She'll be the first to tell you that. Not always in a positive way. But you know what? I didn't really, for whatever reason, the on-field managerial role hasn't really been on my radar. And I think if I had to guess, I would say it's probably just because it is so closely tied to being a player and the commitment to being on the field, and the work that goes in. And look, I understand this is a big role and there's a lot of time and commitment, but I think it's going to be spread out in different ways than it would be in a coaching or managerial role.
Buster Posey is joining us from Oracle Park. He's just been introduced as the president of baseball operations. It's Papa Lund here on The Sports Leader. Was it kind of a mutual thing, or did you approach them and say, look, I want to get involved in this and do X, Y, Z, or did Greg Johnson in the group say to you, hey, what would you consider this? How did that work?
I think it was kind of when we felt like that, or listening to Greg and the board, that felt like it might be time for a change. It was something that we just kind of mutually discussed together. There'd been some, I guess, somewhat flippant comments, from time to time, and once I started wrapping my head around it, I became more and more excited about it each day. And again, I want to say that the hope for me was that the team's getting ready to have the first pitch here in the playoffs. But as I started thinking about, and I addressed some of it in the press conference, just what baseball means to so many people, especially in the Bay Area. I think what's unique about our fans in the Bay Area, and not every fan base in baseball has this, is we have generational fans. So you think about the impact that great players and great teams can make on not only the people that are in the ballpark or watching on TV, but the impact that then they have, maybe it's 20, 30, 40 years down the line. People are always going to be talking about Willie Mays. And that's exciting. It's exciting to think about having that type of impact on people.
And they're always going to be talking about Buster Posey and Bruce Bochy and Brian Sabian and Madison Bumgarner and Tim Lincecum and Matt Cain. It goes on and on. For the last several months when you were mulling, is this the right time to do this? Who did you seek advice from? Did you reach out to Brian Sabian, John Barr, Bruce Bochy, some of your teammates?
No, I mean, I kept it really in-house. I just think out of respect for Farhan, we didn't know which way things were going to go and did not want anything out there that was going to be a distraction or potentially disrespectful for him. So some of those people that you've mentioned, I've since yesterday have reached out via text and plan on having conversations with John and with Sabes
about coming back to the organization. John's already here.
I think it's
Sabes,
right. I think it's a conversation first to just say how much I admired the way they went about their work, and what can you teach me? What are some lessons that you learned over all your years of doing it? I think that's the first conversation.
Talking to Buster Posey, can you clarify just your involvement in the Matt Chapman situation? There's kind of some maybe things that aren't clear there. And did that kind of boil your blood a little bit? Did that get you going, or were you already kind of to that point already kind of involved like that?
I think mentally I was already kind of preparing myself about it being a possibility at that time. But, I think if you want to know about the Matt Chapman deal, you can just read all of Boris's quotes. He'll tell you exactly the way that it went.
Really?
But we
might have been some sarcasm.
By the way,
there.
Scott's on line one.
Might have been some sarcasm there.
He represents one of your pitchers, so be careful.
It's from our vantage point, there was negotiation that was taking place and it had stalled, and so knowing Matt, haven't been a big fan of Matt, playing against him and then watching him, I felt like it's not going to hurt anything for me to reach out, just kind of share with him what I know and believe about the Giants organization, share with him how appreciative I am about the way he plays the game. And it was apparent that he wanted to be here, and that he wanted to get a deal done. And the basics of it were done. There was some stuff that needed to be shifted around a little bit, but ultimately, look, we're just so excited that that guy, you can plug that guy in the lineup at third base, and there's so much value in that to me. And not only him personally doing that, but now each guy that comes into the system is going to look to Matt as a leader and say, this guy's posting every single day. It's important for him to be ready to play. I need to have my tail ready to be out there on the field as well.
Man, a Gold Glove winner, Platinum Glove winner maybe this year, 27 bombs. Your first World Series team in 2010, you guys had 162 home runs. You had won a game. You had it late in the year, and Pat the Bat was here in the back of the room, and Cody Ross. You also won a World Series when you guys were dead last in the league in home runs. And then in 2020, when you came back and you guys won 107 games, you set a franchise record for home runs. You hit more pinch hit home runs than anybody in the history of baseball. So my question is just offense lineup construction. What's the best way to score runs in baseball today?
I think you've got to be able to score runs in so many different ways. As you just mentioned, some years it's going to be the homer. Some years we're going to have to manufacture in different ways. And so I think you're going to have to assess what type of players you have each year. And then, hitting's so funny. It can be so contagious for the better or worse, as you guys know, watching baseball your whole life. So a lot of it I do think is okay, do we have a team that can hit the long ball or not? And for me personally, philosophically, I just am such a believer in pitching and defense. Ultimately, I think if you pitch and you catch the ball, you're going to be in a lot of games. So, you look back at the run that we had, and ultimately we were led by a strong starting staff and a dynamite bullpen.
That's why, as we look out at this ballpark, do you think that you need to tailor your team right now more to this ballpark?
I don't know if you have to specifically. I think pitching and defense is tailored to this ballpark, and as I mentioned, that's going to be an emphasis for us is understanding that. And it was, I just think back to when Kane and Lincecum and Bum, those guys were taking the mound, Vogelsong. There was such an edge that you had when that you've got a guy. I'd put Logan Webb in this category now as well. That guy's going to pretty darn near every time go give you 6 or 7 innings and keep you in the game. It takes pressure off your offense as well. So I think that great pitching, great defense tends to take pressure off the offense, and then they can go out and play a little bit more loose.
And a great catcher. You're underestimating yourself there. You got a pretty good one now in Patrick Bailey. Let's talk about some of the guys on your current club with Patrick. And he reminds so much of you, the way he sets up behind the plate, the soft hands, the quick release, and the footwork. He has had a problem in his first 2 major leagues years. This was his first full in the last year, just wearing down late in the year. He may be like you, where it's hard to keep weight on during the year. What do you see from Patrick Bailey, Buster? And And do you think, it's a lot to catch the way you guys do and switch hit? Would you like him to maybe just hit from one side down the road? What do you see from Patrick Bailey?
Well, I mean, his value behind the plate, we can measure that now, and we see how valuable he is as far as pitch framing and throwing the ball down the second. And I think in the first 2 years he's done a great job. I know, knowing him a little bit, he's most certainly disappointed that he's kind of faltered a little bit offensively the second half of the year. And sometimes it takes a while. It takes a while to understand, what do I need to do from a physical standpoint as far as, in the weight room, or, how many calories I need to be consuming. So it takes some time to figure all that out. But, I think you don't have to look any further than the pitching staff. And when guys enjoy throwing to a catcher, that's, from a catcher's perspective, is an ultimate compliment.
Buster Posey is the new president of baseball operations for the Giants. We're live at Oracle Park. It's Papa Lund here on the Sports Leader. Just going back to like a Chapman, and we were kind of joking about Scott Boras, but these are guys, you're still a really young guy. You're going to be thinking about players, potentially adding players that maybe you even played with. Do you think that's going to be one of your strengths as a closer? Like you helped close the Chapman deal, and I look at you and I think to myself, having Buster Posey talk to me or talk to an agent or something like that kind of a thing, because nobody knows San Francisco, nobody knows this team, what you want to accomplish more than you. So I can't imagine someone pitching the San Francisco Giants to have more credibility than you.
Well, I hope so. I mean, it remains to be seen, right? I do know that I feel like I'll do a good job at selling just how special a place this is. Haven't been a part of teams that get to come in front of, as we're looking out of the stadium right now, a packed stadium, and this time of the year, the electricity, and just a fan base that's so excited to wrap their arms around the next great player and great teams. And also, what to me makes this organization so special, and again, only place I've ever been, but do have somewhat of a, can get a look at other places as well, is from top to bottom, from ownership to front office to coaches to all the way down to, the trainers and the rookie league. It's just a group of people that really loves the game of baseball. They're passionate and understanding what this game means to this city. And who doesn't want to be a part of that?
And you're at the very top, like you were as a player, but now you're at the tippy top. You're the president of the baseball ops. So when you leave here, you're going to go watch baseball today. You got 4 wild card games to watch. We'll watch all day. It's a daunting job, president of the baseball operations, Buster. It's not just the 26-man roster, the 40-man roster. How many players you have under contract for the Giants? Hundreds and hundreds. What's the first thing you do when you get out of here, take the coat and tie off, roll up your sleeves? What are some of the first things you want to get done?
Well, I think, I mentioned in the press conference we're going to hire a GM, so I think that's the first thing, is just starting to brainstorm a list of potential candidates and get some interviews set up. I think that's first on the list, and getting myself integrated within the systems and understanding what's worked well, understanding what hasn't worked well, and you mentioned it's a daunting job. It is, but at the same time, there's so many great people that are a part of this that I'm not gonna go into this assuming or acting like I know all the answers. And it's gonna be a big part of this is just going to be listening and learning, and then hopefully being able to add some value with some insight.
You talked about this at the press conference too. When people ask about analytics, everybody does analytics. You absolutely have to. But your balance from like a gut feel, and I think that's why Bob was brought on too, was your experience, your gut feel. You talked about in the press conference how you value scouting maybe more than some people. So what is that balance? Everybody asks about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think scouting is extremely hard, and it makes it even harder when you're talking about scouting, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids to be able to project what they are. But I think what, knowing John Barr a long time too, I can remember John having conversations with me and my mom probably when I was 15 or 16 and just randomly passing him in the parking lot. And it kind of started there. So, I'm hopeful that we have a group of people that understand this is a hard game. It's a very hard game, and there's a lot more that goes on into being a big leaguer than just what goes on the field. So if you have a group of scouts that have that in mind as well and understand there's so many little pieces that make up who this person is, I think that's gonna help evaluate and hopefully bring in the right group of guys.
Great stuff.
Thank you, bro.
Hey, thanks. By the way, if first reactions are anything, tons of fans love it. I mean, yesterday when this was announced,
when you walk the streets of San Francisco, are you just the Pied Piper here? They just all over you, or you kind of you slide in, you slide out. You know,
pretty normal.
Come on, you're Buster Posey. Bring out the rings, bro.
Thanks, Buster.
Good luck.
Congratulations,
Best wishes. Whatever it is, like you're getting married. Which is it? Good luck. Best wishes.
Looks good.
Break
man.
both legs.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Congrats, man.
Congrats.
Appreciate it.
Good luck
Really
to you.
do.